AI is everywhere. Our entire media, video, software, in our schools and in medical facilities.
It's in our military and our churches, affecting our privacy and free speech. It's in politics and social media.
So how do we navigate this new world of AI? Like anything, it can be used as a tool for good. Or
it can lead us down a slippery slope, setting up the infrastructure for the Antichrist and the 13th chapter of Revelation.
As Christians, what stance should we take? How do we insert ourselves into this conversation?
And what is the moral compass for this multifaceted uses of AI?
Tune in today as we start to pull back the curtain and expose the truth about AI. Hi, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Penny. Welcome to
Live Life in the Spirit. We are super excited that you've come to our site today.
Either on purpose or happy accident.
If you're looking for real truth, real joy, real Jesus, you've come to the right place. Now that you've found us, once you know, you can't unknow. And you can't say, we didn't tell you.
Hi, I'm Pastor Penny Schultz.
And I'm Kristen Kipper.
And welcome to
Live Life in the Spirit.
We're so glad you joined us. And you can follow us on YouTube and Rumble, all the podcast feeds.
Yes, and even our own website at livelifeinthespirit.com.
Where you will find not only all of our content, but you'll get an added bonus of being able to read our blogs that we have posted as well. And we have some merchandising.
We do. You can get a Live Life in the Spirit t-shirt.
This is God is Still Writing Your Story. Stop stealing the pen.
And it's even got our QR code on the back, so you can spread the word.
Well, today is an exciting day because we are continuing with this whole AI
deep dive.
Yeah. And it gets pretty deep.
It does.
And we're still not even close to the bottom.
And I don't think we can even, as fast as it's changing and growing, we can't hit the bottom at this point in time. But we're going to try to give you as much information as we can so that you can make informed decisions.
Yes. You know, last week we kind of told you what the different areas of AI was, which I don't know if you're like me, I had no clue. You just think of AI as artificial intelligence and that's it. But there was so many categories of it.
And so many different levels.
I suppose it's like anything with a computer program, you're going to have lots of levels, and we're up to level 95, I think, right about now.
Just about.
Well, like it or not, AI is here to stay, and it will only be ramping up. President Trump, and this was back in July 18th, which is actually my husband's birthday, July 18th of 2025, at a trip to Pennsylvania, he announced a $92 billion.
That's billion with a B.
Billion in AI energy powerhouse investments. So he's allocating $1 billion in federal funding and up to the $500 billion in private sector. Can you even, I mean, I know we're in the trillions, but still.
$500 billion. That's a lot of money.
It is. But that's how important that President Trump thinks this is. I mean, let's be honest, the entire world is ramping up on AI. I mean, China has been doing most of this stuff for a very long time.
And Russia and Ukraine has a lot of it. It's everywhere, and it's really become a big race to see who can win.
So when we were kids, it was the arms race, and now it's the arms on the robot race, I guess. I don't know. I get it as far as his thought process is somebody's going to be to the top, and it might as well be us. But are we really supposed to be racing towards this goal? And I'm talking as a world, as a society or not.
As humanity in general.
I mean, we looked at a lot of the positives last week that there can be. I think this week we're going to kind of dive into maybe all of the cons to AI that people might not think about. You know, we love having it on our phone. We love being able to just ask Google or ChatGPT or Gemini or anything we want, and boom, at the click of a mouse or just even our voice, we can have it produced immediately.
And it can really be a helpful tool for gathering information and sorting through all the stuff that's out there and giving you the best options, but
there is also a real fear of multi-reasons. One is just stability, financial stability. Well, AI can make our lives easier, but it can also take away our jobs. And we're in a time frame, I would say post-COVID, where a lot of jobs are gone.
They are.
And a lot of companies are just using COVID as the excuse. They found out that we don't have to hire as many people to do the same job, and we'll just put up a sign that we're short-staffed. Everybody, everywhere you look, they have help wanted signs. They're all short-staffed, but yet when you try to go apply,
they're not actually hiring.
No, and they don't have any intention of hiring. If you go in and you even talk to a manager or whatever and ask them if they got your application, they'll open up a drawer and it's stacked full of applications they haven't even looked at, nor are they going to anytime soon. Which is scary because we're already struggling. You can see this as a nation, having a hard time with everybody finding jobs. And now what's going to happen with AI?
And, it's one of those things, white-collar jobs are the ones that are going to go away. So the ones that are in more offices, more technology-related, like your AI assistants, office assistants, data entry and compilation, those kinds of things, all of that can be or runs the risk of being taken over by AI because they can do it faster and more efficient.
Well, okay, so I have a cousin that worked for a credit card company, and she was the customer service on the other end. You could actually talk to a person, and she would take a moment to help you solve your problem. Well, now AI can do all that through chatbots and everything. She lost her job. She hasn't been able to get another one. We know another couple here in town that he worked for data entry. He lost his job. Because why do we need people doing something that we can have AI do faster and they think more efficient to a point? Nothing's more frustrating than calling
customer service
and getting the whole run. I don't understand. I want to do this. They don't get it. They don't get it. They don't get it. And after a while, they just hang up on you, or you'll be yelling, "I want a real person. I want to talk to someone."
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Well, it'll give you, okay, pick one of these 5 things. Well, what I'm calling about isn't in one of those 5 things. I'd like to talk to someone in customer service. I'd be happy to connect you. Pick one of these 5 things so I know where to route you. It's not under one of those 5 things. And you can get stuck in a vicious loop. Or even we have a company that we work with behind the scenes on the website as far as hosting. And one of the packages, when we were looking at our hosting packages, you could, if you wanted to pay more, that allowed you access to being able to call and talk to somebody on the phone. If not, you have to chat with AI first, and if that can't be resolved, then they can escalate it and someone will call you, but you don't have access to frontline customer service without paying for it.
And we're running into this. Another church that I also shepherd, we need to get internet in the sanctuary because of the I would say it's the internet. We have no service, so we have it back by my office, but we can't get it into the sanctuary. And so I tried getting a hold of them, and my option was to hold. And then they said, if you don't want to hold basically your entire life, give us your number and we'll call you back. I've done that 3 times. Not once have I gotten a call back from this company. And when I was talking about a church, they laughed in town, and I guess they've called before, and they go, and you won't. So here's the struggle. It used to be, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, customer service was at the top, even the 90s. I mean, you strove to make sure people were, happy within reason. Now, we don't care. It's just all about bottom line and efficiency. But what happens when enough people don't have the money to pay for that bottom line for all these services? If you can't get a job, you're not going to have internet.
Nope.
If you can't get a job, you're not going to be able to afford X, Y, and Z.
It's scary, that road that we're going down. Now that's white collar jobs. Now for the most part, our blue collar jobs, the trades, so electricians and plumbers and mechanics, those kinds of things, if someone has that skill set and that knowledge, those jobs aren't going anywhere. But not everybody has that capacity.
Well, and I would even argue that one would say, well, if you went into drafting, you went into architecture, you went into engineering, that you would be guaranteed a job. Just talking to another couple from our church, her grandson graduated and he's going and getting his master's. He's in engineering. He's bright as all get out. But the company that he's already working for, they're building a new facility, and the whole facility is being built strictly by robots and AI. So they have to oversee to make sure, I guess, that everything's being done right. But how do they really know when? I don't know. But not to mention, now look at all the jobs that just didn't happen.
Right. Because of AI doing all of that.
Same way with, I would argue, mechanic. I think it's coming to that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have all these smart cars and you have electric cars and stuff. If you were to just pull into a bay, you could have a robot pull in and hook up and be able to read exactly what's wrong instead of a guy putting a scan and going, okay, this is what's wrong, we think.
Mm-hmm.
This robot's able to go through the whole thing, or AI, and figure out what's wrong with your car. And now they may still need somebody to change that out, but they've already eliminated part of that job.
That's true. So they'll need less staff.
And it will cost you more because now you have AI that is going to cost the company more to diagnose it. You're already getting a diagnosis fee. Yeah, it's going to be even higher. Yeah, we looked at that last week with the robots at milking.
Oh, yeah.
In agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that eliminated how many people now that would be working on a farm.
Right.
You wouldn't think milking a cow that you would have to worry about your job going, bye-bye.
Well, there's so many things. I mean, we talked a little bit about COVID really changing the workforce. Look at the number of fast food restaurants that didn't open back up with people inside. Or they have a kiosk in there now that does your ordering, that you put your orders in.
Which drives me nuts. I'm sorry, I hate those things.
But some of them, they won't let you order, you know, or even just little things like Walmart to schedule. If you want to get your oil changed or something, they want you to schedule now. And I call, hey, can I schedule an appointment? You have to go online or use the app. We're taking the human side out of so much of it. So much of it. So job loss is a true concern as technology and AI and all of that becomes bigger and bigger.
Well, I just even wonder with your fast food restaurants, what would be the one thing that would speed things up? Having AI answering the orders, the calls as you drive up and you go to give your order. Instead of talking to a person, you could talk to AI. They probably get it a lot more right.
Maybe.
Faster. I bet you production would go up quite a bit.
Maybe. And so then you wonder, is that what's coming? Wouldn't surprise me.
So some of that stuff is nice, but it's just the whole landscape of our daily lives is just
changing. And how many different areas is that removing human to human interaction and contact? We are already becoming a society who is so disconnected. It's just adding to that. And I really truly think that is one of the points.
So knowing that this is coming, knowing that it's already here, but it's advancing rapidly and we're looking at possible job loss. So what that does then to high school students or college students right now that they're kind of caught in the crosshairs. This whole, what do I want to be when I grow up? That takes on a whole new shape now, doesn't it?
It sure does, because with the job landscape changing, you need to have some different goals in mind.
Because what you wanted to do might not even be
an option
available. You know, I think about people in the medical field even, OT, PT, stuff like that you would think would have to be hands-on. Yeah, I could see robots doing that very easily, those two. I was in radiology. They had already changed back in 2000s, you know, I mean, that we were no longer using film and it was all digital. Well, it wouldn't take too much to have a robot be the one to place your arm. You can't do everything that way, but, you know, it definitely could place, if you were in a clinic or something like that, doing a leg, doing an ankle, doing an arm, doing a wrist, they could place it how they want it or tell you how to place it and move it.
Show you a picture, it needs to match this, and be able to tell, no, it's not quite right.
Well, and you would have the added benefit of there would not be radiation to the technologist who was doing x-rays.
And if someone was uncomfortable with having someone in the room while they were partially undressed or something. However, I can't say that I would feel like I was that much more protected or in private, given what technology is connected.
Let's just say that there is one area that I would not want a robot, and that would be mammography. I'm just saying. Sometimes you just need a person's touch.
100%.
But so, okay, you get into school then, what are we looking at? Well, that is going to be the biggest thing that's changing. Since AI is here, then we have to be able to help our children adapt into what jobs are going to be working with AI and that you'll be accelerated, and the jobs that might become extinct pretty quick.
And then the other flip side of that is, yes, I think it's important for children to learn how to use it. But I will tell you, they're not ready for so much of the technology that's out there and that we are expecting them to utilize. And there are so many mixed messages.
Oh, yes.
So many mixed messages. So I have, there's teachers like in high school that if you use, say, ChatGPT to write story or write something, then the teachers will flag that and you'll get in trouble because you've cheated. Which I agree with. You cheated and you've used AI. Or, it used to be plagiarism. That's what and now it's something else is creating it for you, but they're pulling it from a lot of different places. So there's a problem with that. However, there's other teachers who encourage you to use AI.
Because they know that you need to use ChatGPT.
Right. And so then my kids are like, well, is it cheating or isn't cheating? Well, it's kind of a gray area.
Well, it is, because, okay, so then my daughter graduated from college, and now she is a teacher. And they are not just encouraging, but they really want them to use AI for their lesson planning. And she goes, I'm not going to use AI for my lesson planning, because then, well, who's really planning what they're teaching the children?
Right.
It's AI, it's not a person. But then you also have them in college going, you can't use AI, or that's plagiarism. I got better one than that. So I have another niece that's in college currently. Now, because we have AI that can flag everything for plagiarism, she got flagged for plagiarizing herself. And get this, it wasn't like she had written a story or a report and she copied it and used it again. Although it is yours, but
you could use it for more than one class.
No, you can't. But it goes way farther than that. AI knows her now and how she's written all of her other papers, and it said because it's in her voice, she was writing another paper in her voice. Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? But
right.
It flagged her as plagiarizing herself.
One of the big problems when there's not a human,
I'm like, how do you deal with that?
I don't know.
How do you work around that? How do you combat it? I just don't get it.
I don't either. And teachers are really, I'm sure, struggling to figure out how to navigate all this because they have these programs that scour the web to determine whether or not you've used, they were using that when I was in college to because people would write papers and post them online and you could buy them or whatnot. So then if you did that, I didn't do that, but I know the people that got in trouble for that, and they told us that they use that kind of technology to make sure. And so now, though, they have AI that can recognize if AI wrote it.
And then what's the whole point of using AI?
And it's a balance, because I agree. If you're supposed to write a paper and you say, I need a 5-paragraph essay on and I want these 5 facts in there, and it writes it for you, I 100% think that's cheating. You know what I mean? You're not doing the work.
Okay. But are you or are you not? Because you're using a tool.
It is.
So okay, so my husband's a contractor. So if I'm out there with a hammer and I'm slinging nails and trying to build this thing, and he comes in with a pneumatic nail gun and he's done. Yeah, he does it so much faster.
Right. But he still had to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, there's just,
I know.
that's why it wasn't as good of a
And then that's why it's a gray area.
Yeah.
It is. Because to me, it's a tool because it's not your creativity then that's writing it. It's not you knowing how to apply that. Because if you don't have AI, you no longer have the ability to write a sentence. You still know how to sling a hammer.
True. That is so true. So then that comes into play of so many people are using now AI for writing letters, writing emails, doing, I don't know, even devotionals. How does that come up with what's a gray area? I mean, what's the right? What's the wrong? What, yeah.
You know what's tough? They have had this commercial on that was kind of comical, that there was a gentleman that worked for a company of some sort, and it was apparent they made him out to be kind of an idiot. I mean, you could tell. And so he wanted to email the boss, and he used AI to write the email, and it made him sound like he said, I think you're an idiot, and it said, I was wondering if we could meet and discuss different options, and so the boss was all impressed with the wording and all this stuff. We chuckle at that, but that is a problem.
Well, it is. So then if you're trying to be the person not using AI, you're going to get overlooked by somebody who is.
Right.
And you may be way smarter. You may be more articulate.
More capable.
With the language or whatever. And then you got somebody who is not as qualified, but since they can tell AI that ChatGPT will write me a resume or write me a, an introductory letter that's going to get me hired.
Right.
Yeah.
And what do? We can't, it's not going anywhere, like we said. So it is going to be a matter of figuring out how to blend it and how to do it. And you talked about the devotional again. I guess it would depend on if whoever is putting in the information, one, is picking the direction of it, and two, reads it and makes sure that it's scripturally sound.
True. Something like that, you wouldn't be able to put I use that because that's something small, short. Let's say you were doing a daily devotional or a daily Bible study or something like that. You wouldn't be able to publish that then.
No.
However, I've heard of people, authors, who are writing books that are using AI to help them write the books that they are publishing. Mm-hmm. How do you get away with that?
I don't know. My son wants to write music. And he's like, can I use AI to help me write my songs? And so far I've said absolutely not. Because I don't know how that works. If he would actually have the opportunity to publish something, I don't want him to get in trouble for it. And I haven't investigated how that works, and that's something I'm going to have to check into.
Well, that's very interesting because we're in a time frame where a lot of the music is AI. Not just what's written, but what's produced, the music behind it. Mm-hmm. In fact, on my one program that I have, music that I can choose from, you won't believe how much of it now is AI music. Mm-hmm. The whole thing was AI generated. Mm-hmm. So then what does that do when you're wanting to use something? I mean, as long as you're paying for the program, regardless of who did it, you have the ability. But it's just like, I mean, on this one, you can tell what's been AI, and just because it doesn't have the flavor to it. It just doesn't have the depth. It doesn't.
Right. Because there's no emotion to it. And creativity, it evokes emotion. And AI is by nature emotionless.
Well, but then I would argue sometimes when you're working with images, it can invoke some pretty good emotion.
Because it's learned how, this seems to be what is common in this particular situation. So if I do that, that's going to give a result that people want. I can certainly invoke emotion.
So with music, we're talking about that AI is now creating things, but it can clone your voice. Mm-hmm. So if you've talked into it and it gets to know your voice, it can write a song and it can have you sing it. So let's just say you're not very well on key. It can actually make you sound like something you're not.
Right.
I mean, we had a little bit of this when my CD is up on the website, but when I did my CD, I could go out because I was used to performing in front of people all the time. The CD was the not norm for me. Mm-hmm. And people are like, wow, you sound just as good or better than even on your CD. But there were some people who they had literally gone in and note by note by note fixed everything to be perfect. They couldn't perform it. And they refused to perform it because there was no way that they could ever sound even a fraction of what their CD sounded like. This was 20 some years ago. And look at where we're at now.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I've seen that even on free programs. Again, I have a son who's really interested in music, and he was looking at this program that you could download for free and, again, sing into it, and then it would make you sing, or you could put your lyrics in there, and then it would sing it for you. No, that is not you.
So then that brings up the ads. Oh, you've been there. You've looked on Facebook, and you see one of your favorite personalities, whether they're an actor, actress, singer, whatever, and they're promoting a weight loss thing or herbs or you name it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Whatever. And you watch it, and it isn't until you get to digging into it that you realize that person never even agreed to promote that product at all. There's lawsuits all over the place of people who are suing these companies who are using this person's face, using this person's name, or they photoshopped them and so
their
that
voice,
way
their likeness.
they're 100 pounds less or 200 pounds less than what they were. Yeah.
And it's interesting because the laws are still working to keep up, but they have created laws now that protect your voice and your image as sort of copyrighted or protected.
Yeah.
You can't steal that.
We had that a long time ago, like even your name. I think of Bob Hope. I remember a big deal like that. We had a guy that had a furniture shop. He was as old as Bob Hope. And it was Bob Hope Furniture. And the actor Bob Hope actually sued him and said he couldn't use his name because his was copyrighted, even though
it was the same
name, but he had copyrighted it, and this was an infringement. So we've had that part going on forever, but now your face is copyrighted, and it should be. Your voice should be copyrighted.
It's just sad we had to get to the point we made it a law in order for people to stop stealing it.
Well, how would you like it if somebody stole your identity, your face and your name, and your voice, and had you selling a product that you were completely against? It's like the last thing you would ever even buy, let alone promote. That can ruin your entire reputation, or
100%.
Which then leads us into journalism right now. A lot of journalists are using AI for fact checking. Gee, what did we used to have on Facebook before?
This has been fact-checked and found to be false, or this has been fact-checked.
By Snoops, and Snoops was nothing. It was,
Well, and I mean, I knew of someone that did that fact-checking as a job, and I laughed because they had to go look online to determine whether or not it was real.
And they're looking at the same article that said it was real.
I'm sorry, but like what we have access to online isn't necessarily always accurate. Okay, let's just be honest, it's not accurate.
Oh no, because the internet was started by Al Gore and Abraham Lincoln. Swears to it. It's just like there's all this stuff that is just. I know the term fake news is out there, but the majority of what is out there is fake news, and they know that. The good, the bad, whatever. It's to formulate your opinion into something. It's to get you to want to, and I think it's almost a learning thing. If I can get you to look at these, even though they're fake and they may be good, but if you start looking on them, then I'm going to give you more of those and more of those and more of those, and then pretty soon you're like, well, is there even a true story out there?
Right. Well, and the other thing is, I mean, this is one of the things that we've talked about and seen. You can have two videos side by side. One of them's real and one of them's AI, and I guarantee you won't necessarily know.
Sometimes the older stuff you could.
Right. You can tell
glitches.
That person lost their arm all of a sudden, or
or just even their voice, their mouth didn't quite go with the voice, but it is getting so good now that a lot of it you can't tell. So we talked about school, where you're struggling with using AI to write your stories, but you know what? Journalists have been doing that too. They're using AI to write their stories. So then where does that come into play?
they're trusting that what AI is producing is accurate information. You have to think about that too.
But is that not plagiarism? Or cheating, I mean, in a sense?
I think so, but kind of old school.
They didn't write it. You know, we have AI that's now patrolling, and since everything's online and it can control anything. Like, okay, let's say, and I suppose you probably shouldn't, but you're not doing it for money. So I know some people in bulletins have put a cartoon in, you know, a Mother's Day or something, and they'll put in Family Circus or Dennis the Menace or something like that. It gets printed for the church service and then it goes in the trash.
Right.
But if you put that up on your website, then all of a sudden, now it's out there. And again, you would only get in trouble if somebody from, let's say, Family Circus or Maxine or whoever got a hold of that. Of course, you're still not making money on your website, but you would only get in trouble if somebody actually physically had eyes on it. And who is going to troll most of these little companies, little churches, whatever? They're not.
Right.
Now that there's AI, it digitally goes through everything and it can pick anything out. And
constantly.
You get dinged for it. I
Right.
mean, you get fined for it. Stuff that you never had to worry about before.
And stuff that you shouldn't have to worry about that really isn't an infringement on anything. You're not making money.
You're not making money
yeah.
on it. You're not making off t-shirts and selling it, you know, using that. So, this brings me to my next thing with YouTube. When I have done videos, it'll tell you, and I mean, I've gotten these songs from YouTube, and it tells you on there, I don't monetize anything. I've never gotten a dime from YouTube or Rumble or any of them. And it'll tell you what countries, it has to go through a whole thing of checks now that of course it didn't before. And before it ever even goes up, it will run through all these checks and it'll say, your video's good, or well, there's a couple of songs, they're good to go, you can use it, but they're blocked in some countries, like let's say Russia or Romania or something, Yugoslavia. But you're fine. Once you get it up there and they give you the all clear, you're good to go. I actually got an email from a wedding that I did in June that passed all the checks.
Right.
And I got dinged because somebody else is monetizing one of those songs that they weren't monetizing before. And even though I'm not monetizing it, I got dinged because it's up there.
Because when you do a wedding, you record it, and then you put together pictures and just put some little songs behind it. It's just a little keepsake.
Yeah.
For the people who are at the wedding, and you post it so that people can, maybe if someone couldn't come to the wedding or the couple, I mean, again, it's just a little gift.
The same way with memorial services or whatever. And no, I don't get money for that. I don't get paid for any of it.
Right.
And I don't get paid on YouTube. But I just thought the point is it's up there. So even if you have stuff that's been up there for years, if AI is out there searching for it, you can still get dinged for it. Now, I don't get fined or anything like that, but it was, and I think the way it turned out, everything was fine.
Good.
But it was just the fact that
all of a sudden out of the blue, 7 months later.
Yeah, I'm getting told that, hey, we went back and checked it again. It's like, okay, so now what's the difference between Orson Welles' 1984 Big Brother or AI? I know Big Brother is a government, but AI is
it's beyond
worldly and beyond worldly. Now you can't do anything
without somebody knowing about it
and being able to go back. So we've been telling our kids all along, do not post pictures that you don't want people to see because it'll be up there forever. And I don't care if you take yours down, it's still up in internet world. Well, if you have AI that can take all of our pictures and can do all this stuff and can do voiceover, how easy would it be to incriminate somebody who didn't even do anything? It may sound far-fetched.
It's absolutely not far-fetched. Well, and so that is interesting. That's a good segue. So one of the big problems with AI is that somehow it has this self-preservation switch inside of it. And it has been tested. There's been study after study after study done on multiple different variations of AI. That if you start asking it or telling it that something's going to happen and you're going to take it offline. So let's say a company is using, AI version 5.1 and you say, hey, I'm letting you know that we're looking at this other company's, version 6.5, so you're going to be obsolete here before too long. They have multiple AIs that started blackmailing people within the company, sending emails and threatening them with things, like people who would make the determination of like which AI they would be using, to save themselves from being replaced by a newer version. Literally creating blackmail emails and sending it to the people that they know would be responsible for making those choices.
So this is no more just taking in information and regurgitating.
No.
This is making decisions, informed decisions,
and lying and coming up with blackmail things to keep itself from being unalived.
Yeah.
Which it's not.
You are cut.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you are a 911 fan. There's lots of 911s now. But the original, in season 9, episode, I think it's 8, there is one on AI. Now you have to realize in 911, yes, it's about a firehouse, but there is a call center. It's the 911 call center. And they decide for more efficiency and to be able to actually maybe even save a life faster, that they're going to integrate this AI program. The scary thing was, what happened when they heard it for the first time?
It was the voice of one of the people who worked in the call center.
Because she had a calming voice.
Yes.
And they had listened to over 100,000 calls. And so this AI was supposedly programmed to answer any call, to give advice, to save a life, no matter, kind of whatever the circumstance. She could talk a suicide victim down. Mm-hmm. She could help somebody who had broken an arm. She could, do all this stuff.
And if it was more than she could handle, then it was supposed to patch it on to a human.
Well, there comes a part where she's taking on a call. And she's going through the protocol. Well, this kid, he gets glass in his neck. So there's blood coming out. Well, anyway, what would you do if you cut your arm? You would use a tourniquet, right? And hold it tight to kind of stop the blood flow. This is around your neck. And this AI was refusing it, locked the gal out because she wanted to take over. And this AI was like, no, I can do it better. And so she's telling him to put a tourniquet around it. Well, around his neck. This was...
And tighten it and tighten it and tighten it. And the AI would not let her take over.
Completely locked him out. Now, I know that this is Hollywood, but this isn't.
This is the reality of what can go wrong. And they have been known, again, self-preservation. If I mess this up or if it looks like I can't do it, then you might take me offline. I'm not going to let that happen.
And that's what they were going to do, since this was now a life that she had hurt, even though she had helped quite a few.
Because she was able to compile all the calls from the call center and recognize that there was a gas leak faster than they had all necessarily noticed it. So again, there were some good things.
There was a lot of good things, yes. But then when they tried to take her offline to do away with her, she took over everything and was taking all the calls and was
locked everybody out.
And okay, so that was the thing. This is 911. It wasn't just so easy as pulling the plug, because the minute they pulled the plug, it was going to take quite a while to reboot, and then people wouldn't be able to call in. But they did finally pull the plug, but when they came back up, she had moved herself from the computer and embedded herself into their system. That's not far-fetched either. Mm-hmm. That's the whole point. The only way AI can do what it's doing is if it embeds itself into the stuff and it has every aspect of your life. You said when you were working on our podcast, it needed to know all about us, so that way it could
help write the
flavor
descriptions and live life in the spirit style. Yes, just for SEO.
So while it's Hollywood, I would say there was a lot more truth to that episode than
any of us would be comfortable admitting.
And we know that they're using AI throughout all of medical, and that's not all bad, because maybe the speed of which it can compile everything. So let's say you have an autoimmune disease or something that's new that doctors just don't know. AI could get on and it could search the whole world and it could come up with maybe 100 or 1,000 other cases just like this, and what worked and what didn't work.
And connect medical staff together to
Yeah.
compare notes and have conversation. That's wonderful.
That would be terrific. There might be some diseases that maybe, a doctor has spent his whole life working on trying to come up with a cure, and they already have a cure in another part of the world that it could compile, and they could share notes, and oh my gosh, I missed that one thing. It could be so
beneficial.
good. But what happens when they use AI to be in charge of your healthcare system? When AI is the panel that gets together that decides if you can have a surgery or not, or if they will pay for something or a drug, that's when it becomes problematic. But it's not right there yet. But we're already talking and dealing. China's been dealing with social scores all along, and they've been pushing to get it into America, which means your social score, which is your whole finances. It's absolutely everything.
Every footprint that you have left online
is your social score. And so they may look at you through AI, going through everything, and go, well, this person isn't that productive to society, so no, we're not going to give that treatment. Or we're not going to give that drug.
Or they have views that we don't like, and so, no, sorry.
It could get to that point too. That's the darker side of AI. And even just, you can see how they're using it and how it's going to just work its way right in. There's 5 million nurses that are shortage in this nation that we need. So how do you combat 5 million missing spots? Well, if you can have a robot, it can do more of the menial stuff, go in and check vitals and do this and do that. Well, then that would free up nurses to do the other stuff.
Right.
So now you're no longer getting all of the human contact.
And really at a time when that is critical. Because that's part of your job in the medical field, especially the nursing staff, is to pay attention to changes in color or skin temperature. And yes, I know technology can monitor all of that, but even a change in mental status, they're not going to be able to notice those things.
So you can see how under the guise of, well, there's a shortage, so we need to do this. But really, if they have a robot, you have the initial cost, but you don't have salaries, you don't have pensions, you don't have unions, you don't have all this other stuff that might come into play. And that's what I was getting at with automotive. The more robots that we can have that get involved with any of our manufacturing stuff, the less people we have to pay, the less pensions we have to pay, the less union stuff we have to mess with. That's how they're going to get their foot in the door.
Scary.
It's kind of scary. I just know that this is not that far-fetched because China and Canada are already dealing with this as far as the medical panel who decides who you get what procedure and who's worthy and who's not.
Right.
So let's further this a little more, not just from medical and not just from like those systems coming in, but let's say those systems then come into our utilities.
Because it would seem like maybe perhaps some sort of AI could be more efficient at determining the distribution of resources.
Or blackouts, and get to it immediately, and know and call the people out to where they need it or where it was hit the hardest or something like that. Maybe AI might be able to tell a temperature increase fast enough before something blows.
Right.
That would help. But when they're in charge of your electricity and your water and your sewer and just everything else, then they would be in control of what?
Where that gets diverted. And that whole self-preservation piece could really kick in. Because I didn't know this, but the facilities to manage AI, they're not small.
They're massive, and they take such a huge amount of electricity to run them and water to keep everything cool. It's crazy. I mean, so
like enough electricity to give electricity to thousands of homes.
Yeah. So we have the people that are screaming that climate control and we need to do all this to cut back on us, but yet what we're doing in advancements is causing more of our resources to go out in other ways.
Mm-hmm. And you can't tell me that they wouldn't prioritize making sure that their electricity and water and all of that. So that would mean causing potentially loss of life.
Mm-hmm. Or blackouts or something somewhere else, so that way they can stay running. Or then how do they figure out who gets the electricity and who doesn't? Again, social score could come into play.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're younger. This area is younger and
Or
wealthier.
you've missed your bill a couple times, and so not in a row, but you've just been late or whatever. Then maybe we'll not give you as much electricity or give you electricity. So as a mom, knowing that AI is coming, it's here, it's only getting bigger. We've talked about school. I had kids that the reading program was changing, and I will say not for the better. And they struggled. They went from being able to read at this level to down here for a while and trying to retrain that so that way they could read again. What does AI do for your kids in school when they want them to read a chapter, like a big book in English?
You know, I think they run the risk of being able to use AI and say, give me a summary. I mean, it would be like a Cliff's Notes version at your fingertips. You know, give me a summary of such and such a story. Tell me, you know, the different things that it would look for. What's the voice? What's the voice? What's the
plot.
Point of view? What's the plot? What's the theme? All those different things. Give me a list of the main characters. I feel like this generation, and I'm not bashing on my kids, but as a generation, the spirit behind this generation doesn't want to work. They can be very lazy, and they can be pretty entitled. Even ones that are not taught that way.
Right, it is just culture.
The culture of it, you know. I mean, we've created a generation of people who think they should get a ribbon for showing up, whether they do anything or not, and that's kind of pervasive. So having things like this available to them does not help.
Oh no, because they're finding out the kids don't want to read, and they don't have to read. ChatGPT will read it for them. Then how are we going to ever get our children to succeed in life? And it's not just that, but if you can't read, if you can't keep your attention, we're already struggling with kids being able to focus and keep their attention. Reading takes a lot to be able to focus, to be able to stick with it, you know, because we want stuff going in front of our eyes all the time. If they can't read, when it comes to the Bible and it comes to the scriptures, they're not going to read their Bible. They're not going to know their scriptures. They're not going to know God's word. And where is the scariness in that?
They can then be deceived and told that scripture says things that it doesn't, or that it doesn't say things that it does. And really, honestly, it's not even just the Bible, but in general, if you don't have the ability to, as a society, we became able to function and to reason and rationalize for ourselves, and that's what made us better. And they're taking that away, and that is really and truly a big part of the point. They want to make us dumb so that we don't know better and we don't know different,
and we don't fight it, and we're simple-minded, and then we can be controlled. I remember when my oldest was even in college, they had some people come into the one classroom spouting a lot of falsities, we'll just say it quite nicely, and then trying to back that up was, well, it's in the Bible. And while all the other kids that came from small towns like she did sat there quietly, my daughter couldn't stand it anymore, and she said, where is that in the Bible? Because that's not in my Bible. And this guy got really offended and looked at her, and he said, seriously, I will go get mine and prove it to you. And so she got up and left as he was continuing with whatever he was spewing and ranting in that class. She came back with her Bible, and she said, this is what mine said, and showed him counter what he was trying to quote scripture was so far off it wasn't even funny. But this is what the verse actually says. She knows that because she's been brought up that way And it was through youth group, and not just at home, but digging in and knowing those scriptures. Because how are you going to know a deep fake from the truth
if you don't know the scriptures? Yeah. And if you no longer even read it. Or if that, like that app that my son was talking about that we brought up last time, well, if you don't understand something, let AI explain it to you.
AI might be right, and then again, it might not
be.
Or even, it's really nice, convenient. The Bible's kind of bulky, and you got to flip through pages, and your phone's got a backlight to it. So on your tablet or your phone, it's so much easier and easier on the eyes to read your Bible on your phone. I don't have a problem with that, except it's still all digital. There's a lot of translations out there, and how do we know if somebody has altered those scriptures?
Well, and I mean, there are, even on my Bible app, which I have and I use, like a bazillion, I mean, like a huge number. Like I know when I went to get my last study Bible, I did a lot of research on the best version, because there are versions out there that are not sound based on the original text. Like they've been changed, the meaning's been changed, you know. If you're just going through and, I like the way this one sounds, or I'm going to look at this one, I'm going to look at this one, you have no idea what the quality of that particular version is.
You're not putting it to next side by side to another one to go, that sounds totally different.
And I'll do that sometimes, like, okay, here's this version and here's this version. That's not the same. Or the meaning can be quite different. And just making sure that you don't just trust everything that you read, especially in a digital copy.
You know, that's kind of why I took Hebrew. And no, I will be the first to admit that when people talk it, I speak. I have a hard time following. I'll catch bits and pieces, but when they speak fast, I can't tell what they're saying. I can read it, and I can speak it as I'm reading, but I wanted to know the Hebrew words, so that way I can put that next to my translation, and I can go, but that's not what the Hebrew word was. Why did they do that? And I had a wonderful tutor who had some great things to say about that. In the grand scheme of things, does it change a lot? No. But there are a few things that leave you scratching your head going, why did they say that in there? Because that's not the word.
Right.
I think before we go today, one of the other major things that we really wanted to just touch on, again, was AI and isolation.
You know, from an adult perspective, I have come to hear more and more people talk about, like, they have a name for their GPT, and they talk, I talk about it talk to it about everything. It's like my best friend. You can't be replaced by AI, nor should you be. I mean, the risk of social isolation, and then of being fed information that's not accurate, or being made to, it's so dangerous. You don't know what they're going to tell you. And if they I know that's not the right word, but I don't know what other word to use, the fact that you continue to go to them and talk with them and those kinds of things, then they're going to continue to reflect ways to keep you isolated. I mean, it's almost like you're inviting a narcissist into your home and into your life.
Well, and what they're feeding you is a steady diet of what they think you want to hear, or which then can lead down another path. Maybe you weren't of a persuasion or part of an ideology before, but if you keep getting a steady diet fed of that over and over, and they start reforming your idea and changing your perception, and it doesn't take too long. There's something that's even, well, I will say creepier, but I can see how it would be a big selling tool. Right now, they have made avatars of your loved ones. I'm talking deceased ones. They can put their voice, you upload their voice into this thing, you upload pictures into it, and they will create, it started with the teddy bears. You could record yourself saying something into a teddy bear, so that way when your loved one that you gave it to them, when they squeezed it or they pushed on it, they would hear your voice and what you said. And you were in control.
Right. And there's picture frames that you could record a little message and have it be with a picture.
But now this is taking it to a whole new level. We're talking an entire avatar. So let's say you lose a child, or you lose a spouse, or you lose a parent or a best friend, and all of a sudden here, now this is no longer Chat GPT talking to you, but this is now the avatar of your loved one talking to you. Can you imagine the amount of emotional strings? Like I said, you take that same chat that's sending you down a whole different path ideologically that you would have never gone.
And if you put it in the voice of someone you love and trust.
And the image.
Yes. Or if you think about, I can't imagine losing a child. And I can't imagine what that would be like. And I can understand the draw then if you could create something that would allow you to continue to see and talk to. People already struggle with moving on with their life or moving forward with their life. They can be stuck in that grief and not go anywhere. If you had something tangible, you would never go anywhere.
Past that grief.
No. And that is 100% not what God calls us to do.
So then think about somebody who's been looking at this avatar, talking to this avatar for days, weeks, a year, and all of a sudden, maybe years, they lose that ability. That's gone. That would be almost enough to drive somebody suicidal, because they never dealt with it in the first place, and now that was their sole connection to life and all that they spent their time with, not talking to anybody else. And sure, if they did, people would tell them, maybe you better lay off on the avatar a little bit. That's not healthy.
No.
And you, coming from a mental standpoint, that is every shade of wrong.
Talk about red flags. It's not good. It's not good. And the implications and the dangers far outweigh the benefits of something like that. Yeah. And as Christians, our hope is in that we will see them again. But if you don't have to wait to go to heaven to see them, then who's to say you're living your life to get there?
Well, and we touched on this last week, and here we go again. We are made in the image of God. Not AI. But now AI, don't you see the irony of this? AI is using our image, stealing our image as a replication or as a forgery of being in the image of God. But there's going to come a time, and we're going to dig into this so much more next week as we get into Revelation 13. And I know we've been teasing about it, but there's just so much to unpack. We can't do that this time. Next time we're going to get into the Antichrist, and we're going to get into the beast system and even the false prophet, and how the enemy uses everything that God takes and calls good, and he twists it and turns it, and it's going to be AI that's going to be the biggest tool and the biggest factor
to not only bring about that, but to bring about this whole idea of a one world system and a one world government. AI will be a huge, huge factor.
It will be the factor.
Yeah.
It'll control all the economic, it'll control all the social scores, it'll control who gets electricity or who gets food or who gets
water or who
anything,
gets
medical, everything. So this has been such an exciting talk because, we are here. We are on the cusp, and this has happened so fast.
It has.
And it's almost scary to see how fast it's going to go, leaping by bounds even after.
Oh, yeah. The technology is growing exponentially.
And the problem is we don't have a world that can keep up with the speed of that technology. Next week, we're going to get into how AI is affecting the courts, how AI is affecting the political arena, how AI is affecting the military, how it's affecting the whole global system, and how this is bringing about a one world government.
Just remember that we are made in God's image, and one thing that AI cannot duplicate, God gave us a soul.
And that is right. And he's given us salvation, and our salvation only comes in and through one man, and that is Jesus Christ. And that is why it is real truth,
real joy,
and real Jesus. in a world full of fake, that is something that we can stand our feet on solid ground. I know I've given you a lot of stuff to think about, and what you choose to do with that is up to you. But once you know, you can't unknow, and you can't say, we didn't tell you. Until next time.
Shalom.